I'm the artistic director of Bangarra Dance Theatre, so when Kate and Andrew became directors upstairs, I think they, obviously they'd been to Bangarra shows and they've watched me run this sort of Indigenous dance theatre company, and they've been through to a few performances, and I think they were trying to find a work that I could direct, and a few things were tossed around and sort of didn't show itself, and it was only, I think, probably the end of last year, or maybe early this year, that a vivid idea came in my head, and I think I randomly saw one of the producers of the Sydney Theatre Company, Joe Dyer, and we started talking, and then Andrew wanted to have a meeting, and then it sort of just was organic, really, because working with Bangarra, I don't have a script. I'm usually inspired by a visual image, or a lot of it's oral information, storytelling. So, and if it's not inspired by Aboriginal traditional ancient stories or Aboriginal political social stories. So most of my works have obviously strong Indigenous content. So, and I think of Andrew and Kate too, that they are all wanting to find an Australian story from an Indigenous perspective. Wayne Blair's writing, yeah, Wayne and I worked together in 2000, so it was one of his second acting gig as an actor in Sydney, because he went to QUT in Queensland, and I just rang him up and said I need an actor for one of my dance. It was the first time I moved into dance theatre rather than just contemporary dance choreography, and Jakapura Manyayan, who was the lead guy in the Sydney Olympics opening ceremony with little Nikki Webster, he was my principal senior cultural dancer for a long time at Bangarra. Archie Roach, and then I needed an actor, and Wayne came on. And I literally, because it was a dramatic theatre piece, we once again, we didn't have a script. We would just workshop, tell stories, record stuff on film, notate it ourselves, and he loved that organic process, and he said over the 10 years, being an actor and working in different mainstream companies, he sort of has worked that form. And so when I saw him and said, wouldn't it be great to work together again? And he said, hey mate, I've taken up writing, let's just throw ideas around. And the first day we worked together, I think we spent 4 hours, and we totally exhausted ourselves because we just thought the same about the different ideas. And it was really a springboard from the experience we had in 2000. It'll be 20 years as artistic director of Bangarra next year for me. So, yeah, so what was I, 26 when I took it over. So now I'm showing my age. In my first 10 years, I spent working with a community in northeast Arnhem Land, in Darlinboy and Yirrkala, and they were traditional families that adopted me when I was quite young. So being an urban blackfella and connecting with traditional families up there, I built a trust. I suppose they've entrusted me with their stories, and I suppose I became like a caretaker in the mainstream to filter out their stories. And they've always said, yeah, we do dance all the time. Wouldn't it be great to do a drama piece about living families in a drama piece about living in those environments today? So I started working with Kathy Marika, who was had been an elder from Yirrkala in northeast Arnhem Land, and she loved the idea that we would use words to tell a story. The hardest thing is that she challenged me to use their language. And so it was like, how do you make that language accessible to a Western audience? So I think I quite liked the challenges that showed itself. And from there, we just sort of thought, okay, 2 families, a proportion of it will be in language. They can reflect on their cultural creative customs from dance to song. So it has all the wonderful creative mediums, enough to have a distinctive form about it. So really it just became from the people, really is what birthed the story. And we don't have a script at the moment, so it's really one of those organic, it's all about looking and listening to each other. So it'd be interesting how the process works, because we'll do 1 week in Arnhem Land with all the actors. So we're going to work with 6 urban actors, famous black urban actors, and 6 Yolgnu people and so there's an exchange in their own backyard between the both of them. So the urban black actors won't necessarily obviously know the language, but that's what they'll learn. And they'll learn, I suppose, the domestic dynamics socially of what happens in those communities. So I think for everyone, there's a wonderful learning curve for all.